Hi guys, I am so excited to teach you guys loom weaving today. You're going to be doing this tapestry, and of course, as always, this is a homemade luxe craft kit. In your craft kit, you'll find your thread, your yarn of alternating colors, your loom, and various loom tools. So specifically, you've got 2 needles, you've got so many tools. Let's get started. All right, so the first step is to tie a knot on the bottom left corner of your loom. You want this as tight as you can get it, and then you're going to start weaving that up and down across your loom. I'm going to show you a mistake. I left it in here for editing just to show you how easy it is for this to just, come apart. So I found that the best way was to make sure you keep your thumb on that bottom thread on the bottom. That way it keeps it nice and taut. You want your thread to be nice and tight. Then when you get to the other end, what you really want to do is to make sure that you tie it around this bottom several times and then knot it. I found that was the best way. In the video, I'm just showing the knot part, but I want you to just make sure you wrap it around that bottom part a few times just to make sure it's nice and tight, and then tie your double knot to keep it nice and taut. Now next, you have to think about your design. How do you want your tapestry to look? Here I have the bottom is in sections and layers, so I'm just showing you one option. For this one that we're going to make today, the bottom is going to go straight across but be in 3 different tiers. So the first step is to put your shed at the bottom. You're just threading it through, and you're going to do a plain stitch, which is you start from the left and you go up and down, up and down, up and down through your loom. Don't worry, I'll give you a closer up too, but make sure that your threads are on top of each other, and then you can use your little comb to push it down and keep it nice and tight. That'll be a theme that you'll hear from me. You want to make sure that your each stitch is nice and secure and tight and pressed together, so that your tapestry at the end is one full nice piece. Great, now that you've cut that, you've got this end, you're just going to push that towards the back. You want all your extra yarn to be at the back, because we're going to take care of that at the end. Now I'm going to show you how to make some raya knots, and you can kind of see that there. You're just taking that thread on each side, and you also have a visual of this in your instruction booklet that came with your loom. Gonna tuck one side under and the other side under, and the top is on top of the threads. So you're gonna just keep doing that all the way across with two threads at a time, and just make sure you have it nice and tight. Once you get all the way across, you're gonna do a second row, but with the alternating the threads that you didn't do together. You're gonna do those just like that. Continue to do the alternating until you have 2 complete rows of this color. So of course, this is your tapestry. You can customize it. You can do you can start with the lighter color on the bottom. I'm starting with the darker color on the bottom. You can also do it with multicolored. So instead of just 2 of the same color, you can do all 3 colors and do your knots with like that, and like multicolored. What I'm gonna do though is 2 rows of the darker color, 2 rows of the lighter color, and then 2 rows of the lightest color. So I just like seeing that combination, but you make it your own once you pick your design. So I'm just doing that now. I'm doing the lighter color of gray. I've done my 2 rows of that, and I do have a longer the darker color is longer, the lighter color is a little bit shorter, and then this white is the shortest. And at the end here, we'll cut these so that they look good. But to finish off all of this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some more plain stitches just to keep this nice and taut and secure on our loom. So you always want to leave at least 3 inches at the end of all of your stitches. We will stitch that into the back later, but you want to have that that tail all that's left at the end. All right, use your comb and keep that nice and tight. I'm gonna do a few more because this is a part of my design, what I chose, and I'm just choosing white to do these. You could also do these multicolors. You can choose to go back to the darkest color. You can choose to do all 3 colors for your plain stitches, whatever you like. I'm just doing mine with white. So when you're thinking about your design, just think this whole thing through of what colors you want to have for your plain stitches throughout. So what I wanted to show here is that, you know, you'll have to kind of maneuver your thread to make sure that they stack nicely, and you just move it around. Use your fingers, get in there and just move your thread up and down how you need it to be so that it is nice and stacked properly. That way your loom looks consistent from each row and it looks nice and organized. So I ended up doing about 5 or 6 rows there. Yeah, probably 5 rows. And then I'm coming through with 2 other colors. So I got the darker and the lighter in here. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to start with the lighter one on the bottom and the dark one on top. So I made sure I organized my thread as such. And each time I go through, I make sure that I have that lighter one on bottom, the darker one on top. And of course you could alternate, right? This is yours, it's your custom piece. Every piece you do is gonna be different. So I wanted to have the lighter color on bottom, so that's how I did mine. You could do the darker color on bottom. You could mix it up. Always make your piece custom. So I've got this rows going. I've done 3 or 4 rows here. I'm gonna always use my comb and get that nice and tight and push our tail to the back. Now I'm going to show you how to make some raya loops. First you're going to tie your threads on here, and I'm using all 3 of my colors from my loops. You're going to push it to the left and then you're going to pull it through to make a loop. And here's where you can get customizable, guys. You can make your loops as long as you want them to be. You can make the bottom loops long, and as you go up, make them shorter. You could do it the other way around, where the bottom is short and the top is long. You could do them in 1 color. You could do them in 2 colors. I've chosen to do mine with 3 colors of thread. Once you get 1 row of your raya loops, and for my raya loops, I'm doing it only on the right side. You're gonna do another plain stitch. I need up 2 rows of plain stitches between every single row of your raya loops. That keeps them keeps your tapestry together when you're all done. So we're just gonna use that comb and get these nice and tight, and then we're gonna start with our second row, continuing to use the same exact the same thread, or you could do different colors on each row. And in that case, if that's how you wanted to do it, you would just cut that last row and then you would get different color and start that new row with another color. You just tie your knot again on the end and do it again. So it's so many ways to customize that, guys. You can do it just like you did the bottom. You can start with a dark color and go up to a lighter color with your loops. I really like the look of the multicolored. It's a good way where you can use all your colors for those loops. I like the way it looks. But customize it, guys. I really can't wait to see what you guys come up with when you make yours. Please post to Instagram or tag us on Facebook at Home Made Luxe so I can see how you did your creation. Again, we always finish off with plain stitches. And guys, for my Raya loops, I am actually kind of slanting it a bit, so each row is 1 in or 2 in, just so that as I go up, the loops become shorter or more to the right. I hope that makes sense. You'll see when I'm finished, but I'm just skipping a thread. I'm not starting at the same thread every time I go over. So continue making those loops, and again, experiment with the length and the number of threads and everything. My threads currently are still connected to the ball of yarn. I know those balls are off camera, but you can see I still have them connected because it's kind of hard to know how much you will need, right? So I keep it connected to make sure that I always have enough. Now I'm going to switch out my colors for my plain stitches on after this row. I'm going to go ahead and use the lightest color and a light color, so the light gray and the white. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure the light gray is on the bottom and comb that down, making sure all my tails are to the back, and go ahead with another plain stitch, taking it right back across. There you go. And this, you've really got to make sure you have them organized in the color scheme that you want. So again, I'm gonna go in one more and then do my loops. So you can see like the top is gonna be just 3 or 4 by the time I get up there. So it looks kind of cool. But again, you could do shapes, guys. You could do your Raya loops in really short and in the shape of a heart. You can do your Raya loops really long and just have it shaggy along the whole top. You can just do so much with the Raya loops. You can make it very, very short like a rug and make a design like a heart or a circle or anything that you want to do in the middle of it. It's just the same concept, just let your imagination go wild. And the great part about this project too, guys, is that you'll have this loom forever. You have more than enough thread to keep rewarping your loom and create a bunch of these. These make great gifts. They're just a really cool piece. You can just use so many different colors in your kit. You have the grays and whites, or the blues, depending on which kit you got. But you know, find some yarn, and you can also mix up the textures of your yarn. You can get a thicker yarn and do some other different stitches. You can just use wool. There's so much you can do once you get into looming. Here we're teaching you these 3 basic stitches so that you can do so much with these 3. But go ahead and learn some more and just make your tapestry customizable to you. So I'm all done with the top, guys. Now I'm gonna go and separate my bottom. I'm gonna decide how I want this to be. I'm just gonna cut this straight across, but you could also cut it in a triangle in the bottom. You can cut it a circular, so it has like a loop or a hoop bottom. Just go crazy, just customize it how you want. I'm just gonna go straight across. It's just a nice easy way to make it shorter for each color. Just make sure you comb that through so it's nice and straight and all the pieces are how they're gonna lay when it's hung up on your wall. And speaking of wall, guys, you also don't have to just put this on your wall. Once this is done, you could actually to put this on a pillow. You can do whatever. So once you're all done, guys, you're gonna flip it over and you're gonna take care of all of those ends. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take that needle and you're gonna thread those ends with it, and you're just gonna loop it into the back just so that it pushes it down and keeps it flat on the back. and then you're going to just tie knots together with that. So I've done one side. Now I'm going to show you to do the other side. And then you're just going to knot those in the middle. Got those two sides together, and I'm just gonna knot those. So now the loom is nice and secure, and now I can cut those ends off. Just make sure none of them show through in the front, and just keep going with that. For a raya loop, you want to make sure that last one you tie a knot in it and cut that, but just continue, guys, just feeding those through the back and then tying them. Even if you don't have two on the same side, you can, on opposite sides, you can just tie them on one side. Just securing them with a knot is all you need to do here to finish off the back of your project. And you can always go through with felt and do that. Here I'm just cutting each individual top, and this is why you need space on the top. That's why we use the shed as a spacer, to give us that room to cut our thread and then tie it off. You're just gonna tie knots on each one of these, and I've started at the bottom because I have my shed spacer there, and then I'll go ahead and do the top as well. I took out my shed once I got going, and that makes it easier to tie my knots, and I'm just gonna go all the way. Once you have gotten all of those threads cut, you've gotten it completely off of your loom, you can go ahead and you can sew an arrow on top. You can sew this tapestry onto a pillow. You can sew it on into a frame and frame it. There's so many options, guys. I hope you enjoyed making this tapestry. This is a really, really cool project, and as always, all the materials you need are shipped to you in a kit at homemadeluxe.com. Happy to craft with you again, and we will see you next month. Bye, guys.